Merry Christmas and welcome back to the main stage. In the spirit of Christmas today, I'm here to talk about some absolutely vile, horrific things that should not exist. That's right, you've had the best, now it's time for the worst. Make sure to like and subscribe, don't make me do all of this for nothing. Okay, so we're actually starting off fairly light. My number 10 pick comes from Taylor Swift's Tortured Poets department. I detest I Can Do It With a Broken Heart. I'm so depressed I act like it's my birthday. This song pisses me off so much. The verses build up to this actually just being a really decent tune, and then all of a sudden you get this Lego movie, everything is awesome, Nick Air 30R beat over the chorus, while Taylor unironically spits lines like, I'm so depressed I act like it's my birthday every day, in this just weird, nonchalant way that makes the whole thing just seem super shallow, super cringe, and almost makes depression into this weird joke. We're forgetting this girl is 34 years old, and this is the only way she can get that point across. Like, what does that even mean? Is a birthday like some mega depressing thing, or is she just saying that she acts like it's her birthday to cover up her depression? Because there are more direct, better ways of getting across that point than a birthday. It's just nonsense, if I'm totally honest. It screams pick me, and I just don't know how people are glossing over this. There doesn't seem to be enough of a outroar about this song because it's so bad. Next up in number 9 is JoJo Siwa with Karma. There's nothing inherently wrong with this song. It's just like a mid-pop song, right? What puts it on this list is that it's just blatantly a stolen song. And JoJo Siwa's cutting about in interviews talking about, I'm not family friendly anymore, as if she doesn't censor herself multiple times on this very song. Also, yeah, that's the thing. So in the chorus, she's happy to say Karma's a bitch, right? But in the very next line, she decides she's not allowed to swear, and she's on about like effing around. I just don't understand how JoJo Siwa has gotten to this point where she's like, people know about her and people are actually talking about her. I don't know how it's transcended the YouTube kids verse, and it's really bizarre to me, and I hate it, and it needs to stop. So number 8 is a tune you might have heard if you're on UK indie TikTok. That's right, one of the worst places on the internet. Andy Goodwin's Fred Perry Girl. She turned up in a free stripes in a Fred Perry. I just met this girl, but I'm Now, the thing is, this song isn't actually as bad as I initially thought. I gave it a few more listens in the build-up to making this video. It actually does sound quite nice, but it just falls victim to being full of the most cringe lyrics I have ever heard in an indie song. And I do believe that Andy Goodwin himself is a cringe guy, because the way he puts his full chest into some of like the worst offenders here. Obviously, everyone's heard the famous line, she turned up in a free stripes in a Fred Perry, which is awful. You can imagine the exact kind of people this line appeals to, and they're all just absolutely rotters. Later on in the chorus, you also have, now she's wearing my tracksuits and smoking on my zoots. It's just horrible, isn't it? It's just the most basic, like, over-the-top indie sleaze lyrics. And I can't even let him off because it's probably genuine, because the other track titles on this record are just as bad. Well, for the start, the record's called Tales of a Likely Lad. Like, fuck off. This isn't like some one-off piss take, though, is what I'm trying to say. Like, some of the track titles here are insane. You've got Nicest Polo, Cheap Wine, and Fun Employed. And those 3 song titles just paint a picture of the exact person I can imagine enjoying this song here. Okay, in at number 7, and kind of continuing the topic of terrible indie music, is a song called Come On Over by Loudmouth. Send you a late night text, just come over, finish your midnight shift, just... If you don't know the song that I'm talking about, it's the one where it's like, finish my Guinness. Yeah, it's shite. The thing is with this, the difference between this and Andy Goodwin is I can't tell if this is a joke or not. This is very possibly a wind-up, because this is just too insane to be real. Like, there's a level where eventually you go, okay, they're taking the piss, and this is very much around that level. Firstly, the instrumental loop sounds like it was made by a 9-year-old on GarageBand. The lyrics are absolutely absurd, and like the Andy Goodwin ones are cringe, but these are just ridiculous. Not only is it full of like cringe indie pint lad lyrics, the guy just seems like an utter wanker. Everything he's saying just makes him seem like the biggest weapon you'd ever meet. There's a line where he's essentially like, she listens to King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, they're shy, listen to the Streets instead, at least they're British. And it's just like, the Streets are good, right? King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard are also good as well. Being British isn't some qualification system for how good something is. But yeah, if this is a wind-up, it's class, genuinely respect to him, but I don't know if it is. I don't know what to think, if I'm honest. Like, if you look at this band's Instagram reels, the guitarist always just looks so out of place. He doesn't know what the fuck he's meant to do, but at the same time, like, he looks so serious, and that's why I'm not convinced this is a wind-up. Update: I looked into this a little bit more, and I found both the guys' personal Instagram accounts, right? And from those, I'm inclined to believe that this song is not a wind-up and that these two are 100% serious. That is mental. Okay, so in 6th place, I have a song from arguably the worst band on the planet right now, Falling in Reverse. They dropped an album this year and it is absolutely terrible in every conceivable way. Every single song on there could have easily made this list, but I've gone for what I think is the worst offender, and that song is Bad Guy, not to be confused with Billie Eilish's song of the same name. No, to understand just how awful this song is, we need to go back and really delve into the overall context of Falling in Reverse and frontman Ronnie Radke in particular. Falling in Reverse are an emo slash hardcore slash rap rock band thing formed in the late 2000s by Ronnie Radke whilst he was serving a prison sentence for violating probation after pleading guilty to battery with substantial bodily harm and to owning and attempting to use brass knuckles in the state of Nevada. The band released their first record in 2011, and less than a year later, Radke was arrested again after failing to attend court after being accused of domestic violence. The same year, he was arrested again for throwing multiple microphone stands into an audience at one of his shows, hospitalizing a 16-year-old girl. The band went on to release 2 more albums in 2013 and 2015, respectively. These first 3 were somewhat of a golden period for this band, if you can even call it that, because outside of Radke's personal goings-on, the band itself was just kind of a dumb novelty band that were kind of entertaining and occasionally had a good chorus in them. As a band overall, they were pretty inoffensive beyond them being a bit cringe and making all-time shitters such as Game Over. In 2015 though, Radke gets accused of some pretty disgusting stuff which I won't go directly into, but just know that it rhymes with vape. While that case got dropped, it's pretty clear to see that there's a common theme here and that this guy is just generally a massive red flag and a complete scumbag with a total disregard for the safety of the people around him. There hasn't been any major legal issues since this, so you'd assume the guy started to kind of clean up his act in terms of violent crimes, and for what it's worth, he seems to have, except instead he spends all day every day ranting and threatening people with violence on Twitter and TikTok for criticizing his music, as well as just spewing homophobic and transphobic rhetoric, attempting to position himself as some kind of villain character that you can't cancel and who spouts the hard truths that the woke media don't want you to hear. A tactic that actually seems to be garnering him a fan base with those on that kind of side of the political spectrum that can't see that it's just bullshit. The guy is simply pandering to the anti-woke mob to make money off them, and he literally has no reason to publicly care about any of these apparent issues that he seems to be going on about. If Ronnie Radke truly was this big hard villain character that is uncancelable, he wouldn't have cleaned up his act in terms of legal issues, but he has. So this whole persona is bullshit, and this track Bad Guy is essentially the epitome of that mentality, where Radke's just accepting all of these things and trying to take up some sort of villain persona, whilst in reality he's just some weird little edgelord. In terms of the song, it sounds more like a film trailer than an actual song. The majority of the songs on this album barely function as songs. The rap flow could have been created by a 7-year-old. The vocal delivery is slimy and just horrible on the ears. I also struggle to believe that this line didn't originally end with Ronnie Radke admitting that he was some kind of abuser. I'm a that guy, I'm a cruiser, I'm a psycho, believe the rumor. Also, I almost forgot, you have this just horrific feature from ex-wrestler Saraya or Paige, who is Ronnie Radke's missus, and she has no business being on this track at all, beyond just giving a second opinion, which is also just her repeating everything Ronnie has already said, but changing the word I'm to he's, and also just having the worst vocal delivery of all time. This is utterly tragic, and if you're one of the people gassing this band and giving them a platform at the minute, you should be genuinely ashamed. At number 5 is a song that I'm sure needs no introduction.
From the screen to the ring to the pen to the king. Where's my crown? That's my bling.
It's just cack, isn't it? Like, I'll be honest, I don't think it's as bad as people are saying. I still think it's bad enough to be at this point on this list, though. The vocal delivery sounds like AI, which is a problem because it isn't AI. The instrumental sounds like something Nika30 would have on in the background of a stream, which is proved by the fact that he seemed to be the one person in the world that liked it. It's just fucking cringe. How many songs is KSI gonna release where he's just talking about the fact that he raps, boxes, and makes YouTube videos? You can't go beyond being a YouTube rapper if in every song you're talking about how you're a YouTube rapper. It's as simple as that. And KSI's response to this hate is ridiculous as well. Acting like people hate this song because of his previous beef with Dan TDM. Mate, no one cares about Dan TDM. The majority of the people that dislike this song are grown adults. No one cares about Dan TDM apart from you. That's not why people don't like this song. People don't like this song because it's cringe and you're like 30 plus years old rapping about Prime, mate. Get over yourself. The guy thinks Drake co-signing this song makes it good, as if the public opinion of Drake this year hasn't been completely flipped into everyone on the planet thinking he's a cringe loser. This song is arse. Get over it. Try harder next time. And on the topic of influencer music, my number 4 pick comes from Astrid Wet. Yep, that Astrid Wet. England, sing the fucking name. This summer, Astrid and her weird bird released an England song for the 2024 Euros. It's just the two of them yapping over the instrumental to Seven Nation Army. Neither of them sound any good, and they're clearly trying to fit too many words into every line. They also sing these like proper horrid like extended higher notes on the word England, and it's just ear piercing. I've heard people compare Astrid Wet's voice to that of a seagull, and this is not helping her cause. G2 Stokey also has a verse on here for some reason. It's actually passable, I'll give him that, but when you're alongside Astrid Wet and a dodgy sidekick, probably isn't hard to sound somewhat decent at least. Thing is, you can tell that Astrid Wet is actually like somewhat of a competent vocalist. The issue is that she's just squandering that on whatever this shite's meant to be. Everything about these two makes my skin crawl, and this is no different. Back on to actual music now, and in number 3 we have MGK and Trippy Red's Time Travel from their EP Genre Sad Boy. Yes, that is actually the title of this project. And it makes sense because the entire thing is just these two trying extremely hard to look like victims, but this track is like a fever dream, man. The chorus features MGK doing some weird low voice, trying to sound like Rick Ross or something, while he spits bars like, "It's on site with this." I'm not being funny, the record's called Genre Sad Boy. There is nothing on site about any of this. But yeah, the whole theme of the record is how MGK and Trippy Red are just pure victims, but for some reason, this song's just about fucking on bitches and being on site for life, gang gang. It's utter nonsense. Trippy Red has featured on this list twice now as well. Bro has not had a good year. Okay, so almost at the end now, but number 2 comes from Kanye West and Ty Dolla $ign, as well as North and Chicago West. That's right, boys, we've got a family rap cipher on our hands. You want this pussy? You can't have it, nigga. This is abysmal. I thought Talking from Vultures 1 was bad, but holy fucking shit, it was nothing on Bomb from Vultures 2. I only wait when I turn them bomb. We're going to have to break it down, aren't we? So, at some point here, Northwest is speaking Japanese, and I think that's a bit of a mad thing to do on a song called Bomb. Let's just say there's a connection there, and if you know, you know. You also get this awful Chicago West verse, and like, obviously, I get that Chicago is a child, so obviously it's going to be terrible. You know, I'm not going to sit and bully a child for that, but Kanye should have stepped in and not let this happen, because that doesn't make it any less tragic. So Chicago's talking about having fun and going to the beach and shit and enjoying the sun or whatever. Normal kid stuff. But we as an audience just don't need to hear this at all. And at the end of the Chicago verse, the word bye has this mad echo effect as if it's a mic drop. And it sounds just completely ridiculous. It's genuinely like a meme song that I'd have made in year 8 music tech. It is mental. We're finally here at my number 1 pick, the worst song of 2024. However, before we get into that, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. We talk about music in videos just like this, as well as going to gigs and festivals and vlogging it all for you to see. So yeah, if that sounds like a bit of you, consider sticking around. Okay, so number 1 comes from the album I ranked as the worst of 2024. It's from Lil Dicky's album, Penith. Just like with Falling Reversed, the whole thing could have made it onto this list, but by far the worst offender is this track here, I'm Drunk. I never want to hear this again, and I almost couldn't finish this video just because I would have to hear it again. It is just vile. Everything about it is just horrid. The vocal delivery is disgraceful. The lyrics are terrible. The song's boring for a start. The guy just comes across as totally unlikable, and I understand that this is from a comedy show, but that doesn't even matter because it's not funny or clever in any way. It's an all-around terrible experience that's not even entertainingly bad. It's just shit. It contains absolutely nothing of any value, and I detest this deplorable song. That's the end of the video. In a bit.